Hello, welcome to this session on the model creation, template creation. And so here is how we're going to create the financial model template from an empty Excel file. Number one, you're going to have to make the file have multiple sheets, preferably a sheet for each of the different components of the financial model. And here we begin. I like to call my first sheet a summary or a cover page sheet. Okay, then afterwards I create the sheet that's going to have the different model input. So I call that model input and financial plans. Okay, so model input, let's just leave it as model input, and the scenario. So this is where we're going to place all the different scenarios we're going to use in our model. So typically you want to have on the minimum 3 different scenarios, something like a best case scenario, a conservative or base case scenario, and a worst case scenario. And then revenue schedule, cost of sales, typically if you want to have your director and staff costs as a separate model sheet so that the company you are modeling for the client get a lot of flexibility in laying out all the entire plans. Also, I like to have a table of content, so I should add that table of content. Preferably that should be second sheet. Okay, then also let me move this here. Good. The working capital schedule, the depreciation schedule, the debt schedule, the equity schedule, the tax schedule, the income statement itself, the balance sheets, the cash flow statement, the valuation itself, so we're going to do this year valuation in this case. Maybe we should put it as this year valuation. And usually you want to have a sheet for the financial ratios and maybe charts also, right? I'm going to leave it as financial ratios. Okay, and one other thing I do is I like to be very clear to the client which of these sheets they have to touch. So a whole lot of these sheets will be automated. The only aspect that I need the client to be able to input their plans and their strategy is usually this model input. So I like to color it differently. So I could color it. I don't like to use a very yellow, so maybe let's use gold. So the client is able to have this clear distinction that okay, these two sheets are of a category different from the other ones. And then I'm going to color the other ones. Let's use blue. Color, you don't want to use too much color, so in this case I'm just going to stick to 2 colors, right? Blue for the ones that are automated completely, the client need not change things there. and then the ones that I need the client to alter things in will be we build the gold color one. So I'm going to select all these at once and try to give them all same color. Okay, and voila, I'm done. Okay, so here's my own style for the cover page or summary page. I have a style I use a lot for all my clients, and kind of not too difficult, and it's flexible. You can always adjust as you go on. So I like to create a rectangle of maybe this size, and then I give it a thick outside border, and I like you to be able to specify the company name here. Okay, so this is going to be big, bold. This is good enough. Then I also like to, if I want to put our company logo, I like to put it somewhere at the edge. Let's see if I can bring one in here for you to see how that looks like. That way, if it's something you feel it's okay to put your company logo, but typically you want to put the client's logo so it reflects that this is made specifically for the client. So let me just look for, I have our company logo somewhere in here. I could use Nigerian market data, which is one of our tools, one of our apps, but let me look for our company name, your biz hedge. I've seen, yeah, this is okay. So I could put that here. Okay, so that looks good so far. Then I also like to make it very obvious when was this model last updated, right? So it makes it a lot easier for whoever is reviewing the model or as a working document, so you're able to see when it was last updated. I I like to put it really up. So let's say I put it around here, last updated, and today's date is 30th of March 2020. And for things like this, I like to put a lot of the informational things on the same row. So, and sometimes it's better to just make it obvious that these are informational cells. So like I like to make them in italics. We're going to add one more later on, the current scenario we are running, so maybe somewhere around there. But for now, this is not bad. Then I like to also, since we're creating a template and there's a company I model for, as they're into private equity, so sometimes they like to also be able to specify what sector the company they're modeling for is in. So in this demonstration, we're going to flip between, we'll do a model for a manufacturing company, but then I'll show you how you can adjust it, or if it's for a software company. So you can be able to come here and specify what sector the company is in. Then also the this year valuation, and if you want to use another valuation metric, you might want to specify what that is, what that value comes to. And if you want to invest in the company, also you want to see all of that in here, if that is your case. So typically I like to put that here and say okay. So whatever equity investment you are seeking to raise. Then the DCF valuation that we come up with, and if you use comparative company analysis, it's a very common valuation metric tool method, and typically you want to have more than one, so you can compare. Okay, I like to have that also specified here. I also like to use a particular pattern of border for this. So I go here, I pick this dot like one, and put okay. Sometimes you don't see these until we turn off the grid line, so I want to be done with this before I turn off the grid lines. Also, I think I'll preferably insert an additional column here. This is the flexibility I get with those rectangular. It makes it easy for you to expand width, sideways, and vertical. So I want to be able to show some important summary in here. Things like what is the income statement, important lines indicating, and then things like what's the revenue, what is the cost of sales, what is the gross profit, what is the operating profit. Let's start with operating expenses. What is the net profit, and that should capture that nicely. Balance sheet, and the total fixed assets or non-current assets. I still use the traditional names, but then if you want to follow the IFRS standards, you just rename them appropriately. Income statement becomes statement of profit or loss, balance sheet becomes statement of financial position. But then again, those are just semantics. You can always modify as you deem fit. Non-current liabilities, current liabilities, the equity. I also want to show things relating to the cash flow. So cash flow from operations, cash flow from investing activities, cash flow from financing activities. I also like to show the net cash flow and one major cash flow line we're going to use for the DCF valuation. So unlevered free cash flow, UFCF. So maybe I just put that in here, that acronym. Okay. And if you also want to show some of the financial ratios, so the key financial ratios, that way, when you print this out, when you send this to anyone, when anyone is reviewing this, they get to see all of this first, right? And then they have a good overview of what the company performance is like, what the valuation is like, and then if it's just for financial planning or you're a startup, you get to see what your business is going to be like over the forecast years. So things that we like to show in the financial ratios, gross profit margin, operating profit margin. I'm going to need a few more rows, so that's why I said I really like this rectangular approach, because as the more I need, the more I can expand, so I'm not kind of fixed into one outline as per structure of the summary sheet. Net margin times interest and also known as interest cover, but anyway, times interest and current ratio, debt to equity ratio, return on assets. I need one more line. Return on equity. I think with this we cover the key financial ratios you would like to show. And so if I'm doing a model for a company, we're currently in year 2020, then obviously I will want to show in here, if it's a startup, great, I'm going to show the next 5 years. If it's a company that's been in existence for some time, then I can show what has happened in the past, maybe the last 3 years, and then I move on to the future years. But anyway, we're going to come back to that. Just that for this demonstrations purpose, I'm going to do for a startup, right? So we are going to assume the company is not been in existence before, and then we don't have past, we just have to forecast directly into the future. So this is going to mean I'm going to take the future to start from year 2020, yeah, because this is just the beginning of, so year 2020, 2021, and if I do this and let's say we do for the next 5 years, so that's going to be 2024. Okay, I'm going to want to make this large enough. Okay, I'm going to reduce some of these paddings, and I think I have quite a lot of unused spaces. Okay, so let's say this, and what other, okay, I think this is too much of a space also in here. I can take this one out. Okay, maybe this should be a bit wider. Good. And I apply the border. Okay, I think in this case, instead of me having to do this multiple times, I do it all at once. So I'm going to apply the border all at once. So border, I pick that style. I say it should do for all of the outer edges and the horizontal and horizontal vertical. Okay, I think I like what I see. And the last bit before I move on to the next is I turn off the grid lines. Okay, see how instantly it looks nice, right? When we are done, we are going to populate these figures. So for now, And what I'm going to put here are spark lines, so that's why I did this extra space here. I'm going to put a spark line to show the trend, across those years. Well, when we are done, I'm going to reformat this, but for now, I'm going to make some things bold because they are kind of important. Bold, 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 bold. Okay, so I move on to the next sheet, which is going to be the table of content. There's something I like to do across all these other sheets. I like to make them have a consistent style. Okay, so for something like that I want to be consistent across all the sheets, I don't have to do them repeatedly, like do for one sheet, do for the next sheet. I'm going to do them all at once, right? So I'm going to select all of the sheets, and then we begin. So number one is I like to reflect the name of the company I am modeling for in each of the sheets. So when you print, you'll be able to see it's for this company. And also if you're jumping around the different sheets, you're able to see those information, the company name, and also the last time it was edited. So I come here, I say pick the company name, then I also put the last time it was updated somewhere around here. So I say show me also the last time it was updated. As we go on, I'm going to reflect also which scenario you are on. Are you on the optimistic or best case scenario? Are you on the worst case or pessimistic scenario? That I like to put in the middle. So for now, like I mentioned to you, I prefer making in italics my information row. Another thing I like to do is I like to make it really obvious the header of the sheet we are in, right? So as I do for each sheet, I'll be able to say this is table of content, this is model input, this is, you get the whole idea. I like to make them have this consistent look of, should I use our company color? Let's stick to the blue we've been using. So I can say a blue background. I like a light on a dark background. So like a light font and white font. And I increase this to 16 is good. And then I make bold. I've done that. Then I want it to be center across that selection. You don't use merge and center. No, no, no. You right click, you go to format cells, then you go to alignment, you go to this horizontal here, you say center across selection. So that is better, that is preferable to merge and center. So I pick that. Okay, what other thing will I like to do consistently across all the sheets? For now, that is all. So I can right click here and ungroup the sheets, and then I can carry on with my work, right? I can say this is table of contents, and then for my table of contents, there are multiple ways you can do what I want to do. But I like to use the hyperlink with text. I've had cases where I used shapes, and then when I say shapes, like I go to insert, and then I go to shape, and then I pick on, I like the rounded ones, and then I say okay, this is maybe this is model input, and increase the font size, make it bold, I put it, make it centralized, and then I right click, I say this should be link or hyperlink, whichever shows in yours, and then I say place in this document, and I say it should be linked to the model input sheet. So whenever you click on this, boom, it takes you to the model input sheet, right? So this can be nice, whatever. Now I've shown you how to do. If this is the style you like, then by all means go for it. I kind of like, maybe because it's faster, because most times I'm doing this, I have this requirement around speed. The client is almost like, when will this be ready? So I don't want a case where I'm doing too much designs and at the expense of delivering on time. So I like to use this 1, 2, 3, and typing the stuffs right in front of it. And the advantage of this is, if I omit anything, if I decide to add an extra sheet or add another section in my model, maybe some companies they want to also keep track of some important things like maybe social impact, maybe something else that is beyond, it's outside of my regular template, and I want to add it. This is a lot easier to recreate in my own judgment anyway. So model inputs and financial plans. So the client is expected to put all their financial plans, model inputs in there. Then the scenarios. Okay, since I have director and staff costs, some, especially for startup, they like to have a different sheet to flesh out their personnel plans. They might start with just 3 people at the first year, and then they keep adding people more and down the line, and it's easier if you let them be able to spell that out rather than just giving them one line that says personnel cost or staff cost. So that's the advantage of having that. If it's for a company that exists already, you might not bother too much about creating that as a separate sheet. So it's a scenario, and then the revenue schedule, the cost of sales schedule, the working capital schedule, the depreciation schedule, the debt schedule, the equity schedule, the tax schedule, the income statement itself, the balance sheets, the cash flow statement, the DCF valuation, the financial ratios. And in case you want to add charts, you might like to put those charts in there. So let's say charts. I just drag all this down, and then I start making this clickable. So I right click on the first, I go to link, I pick model inputs. So this is hyperlink. I do likewise for everyone. People do ask me, is there a faster way? Yes, there is a faster way, but I think that faster way involves macro, or doing some crazy formulas, which if you want to do, I think I'll be done before you are able to cook up all those. So for those of us learning this from scratch, don't worry yet about a faster way of doing this. Get accustomed to doing it manually. If you make any mistake, just right click on the mistake and edit. I'm going to show you how to do that anyway. So if you think you've made a mistake here, just right click, do edit hyperlink, and then you pick whatever should have been the right thing. So I didn't make any mistake, I'm not going to edit. So I continue with the debt schedule, equity schedule next. The tax schedule, the income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, the this year valuation, the financial ratios and charts, so this is looking good. As usual, I like to turn off the grid lines. It brings out the beauty of the work. Okay, I go to model inputs. I call these model inputs and financial plans. And for this, we are going to, so in the next video, I'm going to show you how you get the client to give you all their plans. So I'm going to share with you this file. So if it's a company that is a software services company, a cloud-based solutions company, this will be a much more appropriate sheet to send to them. So you force them to fill in their plans, right? And then whatever plan they give you, you come put in here. And if it's a manufacturing company, I also have the template I send to manufacturing companies. So you force them to outline their plans in there, and with this you're able to create all of what the model will have. So this video is getting too long, so I'm going to stop here. We are actually done with the model template creation. The only thing I was planning to do was to start writing the labels. This is director and staff costs. We can always write that as we get to that particular section of the video. So thank you, and see you in the next video.